Welcome everybody to Mark Bajerski YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about a beautiful and mystical crystal called Moldavite. One of the, I guess, strangest crystals that has a pattern of bringing out something that is unlike other crystals. So I think I'd like to share a story with you, which is going into my book called The Power of Moldavite, before I show you some pieces of Moldavite. So maybe about 15 years ago, 14 years ago, one of my first clients that I went through this experience with was a lovely lady, lovely. Let's call her June. I don't want to say her real name. But this lady came to me with a fairly balanced energy. And I was going to give her a reading, as I would do for most of my clients, and then a healing session. For some reason, when she came into the room, she was drawn to a green crystal. And out of all my crystals, she went straight to this crystal, which was always a good thing for me because it meant that the crystal had chosen her. So there was a bond straight away with that energy. So that made me smile. I remember giving the lady a reading and there wasn't anything untoward, anything that made me think that she needs real help or anything like that. She was just a very balanced soul. So after the reading, which she seemed very happy with, she had no questions, she laid down on my healing bed, and for 45 minutes I was going to give her a healing session. So sorry, my little doggy wants to go out. Want to go outside, baby? There you go. I'll leave the door open for you. She just wants to sit out in the sun a bit. So yeah, let me refresh that then, because I go into a kind of remembering stage. So yeah, bear in mind that she did pick up, she went over and felt the Moldavite. So it was only appropriate for me as a sign that I would use Moldavite on this lady on the healing session. Bear in mind that pure energy healing is also a frequency that is high vibe. It clears many trauma. It opens the third eye and all the chakras, cleanses and clears. So that would be a normal healing session, clearing any negativity out of the way. And sometimes I would add a crystal to that journey of 45 minutes to an hour and 15, 20 minutes. So it made sense. I went straight over for the Moldavite, and that very piece that she picked up, I put on a third eye just here, just laid it there while she was lying down, made her comfortable, said certain words that I would normally use, some keywords just to get her into the energy flow. And then the music comes on, which is very similar to this music, and I start the healing session. I found that I was at a stomach to begin with, and I was just focused on her stomach, and I could tell there was some lovely healing work taking place. And then I moved straight up to the top of her head, and I placed both hands about 4 or 5 inches away from her head and just started the pure energy healing. What was fascinating, after about 15 minutes, she started to go into this place of peace and tranquility. And that normally means that you're out of your mind and you're just in this really beautiful space. What I did notice then was a deep breath, which is very normal with Moldavite and people going into that space of Moldavite. And it's very unusual. Other crystals actually do this. I never found, maybe a little bit, but not as profound. And that's normally the breath. So there's a lot of intake of breath as they're drifting into this state of consciousness. So it's a very heavy breath, and it's a forceful breath. So it's basically, as I would call, cleansing or detoxing. And that's the process to begin with. That normally leads me on to something very special is about to happen, which means that they're also breathing in a lot of oxygen. So something is stimulating, some cells are starting to electrify. So I just would do what I normally do, stay there and keep that flow flowing through into her. And then all of a sudden, as I'm looking just at her energy field, sometimes you can see the eyes rolling from side to side on clients. If you're a healer, you'll understand this. But this is slightly different. It's more erratic. It's a little bit weird. So it's the eyeballs are all over, like basically flying about everywhere like that, up and down, down, up, down. Then you realize that, and this is why I say this to clients, you see more when your eyes are closed. So I could see that she was in a state of deep consciousness and peace. And now that her eyes were actually moving, that she could now see something. And that something is with your eyes closed. So she's seeing more than your eyes open, right? So what are you seeing? I knew something was happening because then the breath slowed down, and then there was, I see a movement in the body. And it could be twitches, which is basically normally the body fixing itself, where there are issues in the body where there's traumas. So that was the next stage. But then there was a stage where the body tremors. It's a tremor. And it's hard to explain, but it's like a dog what's frightened when it hears fireworks. So a dog goes zzz, zzz, like that. I can't do it, but it's like that, and then it stops. But it's a different frequency. It's like that body can't do that. Your body can't move in that way. So something is happening to the body. Something is taking place. And I wouldn't say this all the time, but I would think a lot of the times when they are in this state and they're seeing something and something is happening in their body, there is often the tear ducts start to well up. And when they're laying down, it's like a healer would always have a tissue ready to just clear, and it would be a soft tissue, very, very soft, just to clear the tear ducts which are welling up. So now I'm seeing there's emotion taking place, there's a frequency of movement of the body, and this breath which was shooting out has now gone to a stillness. So after this movement and after the welling up, then the client goes into what I would consider to be a very, very peaceful place with no other movement on the body. In fact, it would look like the client is just completely in a state of just being. And it's a strange feeling. It's a strange feeling that you don't know what's happening. As a normal healing session, it gives you kind of get feelings and ideas of what's happening at any given moment. So this is a suspended state, very unusual, and only happens with Moldavite. So that said, it always made me smile. I was always on a positive vibe with this, and I knew something profound is happening. And it always happened with Moldavite. And I always turned to Moldavite when it was an awkward, difficult, mindset, stubborn person. Moldavite would always seem to crack them open somehow. Something, even if they didn't believe it, it was like, okay, something happened there. This person was very balanced, okay? She was very balanced. And this was a state of extraterrestrial, extraordinary, very different, very different. So I'd had this happen only maybe once or twice prior to that, but then afterwards it was a very normal thing. But the reason why I talk about it was because it was one of my first real experience that Moldavite was different from other crystals. Anyway, after the healing session, I normally ring a bell and cleanse the client and get some water ready. And normally I'd take the crystal off and put it next to the water, so the water's being energized as well as what I put into that, which is the residue of pure energy healing that comes through. So everything's kind of ready. So the client opens their eyes, and I'm sat in a seat and they're sat there, and I'm just observing the energy. What I noticed about the client's energy is something that I've never seen with another crystal before. They vibrate at a frequency that is, it's almost like they've got a suit of armor on. And it's also feels like that it's hard to read their energy in the sense that it's so strong. It's hard to like, okay, that's healed, that's worked, that I can feel still needs to be healed. It just feels different. It's almost like it's hard to read. So anyway, so I'm waiting for the client to sit up. The client is in a state of, I'd say, shock. And when I say shock, I don't mean negative. I mean something profound happened to my client. This was something that I don't know, I can't explain. And even when my client explained to me when she got up, it didn't really make sense and I couldn't really understand it, but I was very happy for her. So she's looking around the room and this is how it would look. And this would last for like five minutes. Seems like forever. And I'm wondering, what's she looking around the room like that for? Because she's looking at everything. Now, I've got butterflies on the roof, right? So there's butterflies all on the roof there. I'm thinking, is she looking at the butterflies? No, it's not the butterflies. She's looking at something else and she's fixated on other things. Anyway, this lasted for about 5 minutes. And when you sat there for 5 minutes, it's quite a while when you just sat looking at your client. Anyway, eventually my client turns her head and smiles gently and sits up. And I never said anything. I just had my cup of water ready for her. And I could see that she's processing. Now, when you put crystals on clients after the healing session, there is a form of process without a doubt. They're processing what they're going through. But this was different. The process that she was giving off, what I'm looking and observing, is different. It's almost like the experience, what she went through, is something that she cannot explain in a way that you would do if you had amethyst on. So what I mean by that is you get up and you go, wow, Mark, my mum was here, meaning that she felt a mum in the spirit world close to her. Or my dog that died, I felt my dog there. Or my God, my stomach was doing somersaults. And like, this is the normal conversation after a healing session. People would want to open up at certain times and tell you things that they got. But with Moldavite, it's different. With Moldavite, it's and we say extraterrestrial because we don't really know what we saw. And the processing of it is very unusual. It's not like you can process it and just say what it is. So the mind is trying to figure out what the experience was. That's what the mind does. It tries to process it. So you can see a state of confusion because the mind doesn't know, but the consciousness does. And there's a sense of, it's not confusion because the consciousness knows that what happened was genuine. What happened was real, and what happened was what was meant to happen. So it's not like after a healing session, the client said, that was crazy. I don't know why I did that. I don't know what the hell happened there. It's never been like that. It's always been a sense of knowing, even though you didn't know. So the client then opened up and started just telling me that she'd never ever experienced a healing session like this in the sense, and this isn't ego because it wasn't me. It was the Moldavite and the energy. I don't take any credit for any of this, but my observations are what I'm sharing. So she said, I've never seen anything and I've never experienced anything like this before. First of all, she didn't know where to start. There was so much that happened, not only prior to her falling asleep, she actually felt that something was happening inside her chest, that it was being pumped up. Now, if you've ever heard me talk about Moldavite and working with lots of Moldavite, that's very normal. And she said she had this overwhelming feeling to breathe. And she could feel herself breathing, but then she went into a deep sleep. So she couldn't remember her physical actions, only the breath, which is great. She's being honest. And I like that. And then she said she's never seen colours like this before. That is a very, I'm not saying it's common, but in Moldavite terms, if I use it, there is a pattern of this. The colours cannot be explained, and I understand this because I've been in that state, so I know exactly what she's talking about. Because you can't explain a colour if you don't know what a colour is. If I said to you, what colour is orange, you can relate to orange because you've seen an orange, because you know what an orange looks like, and you eat an orange and peel an orange, so now I can visually say, oh, I know what orange is. You try and tell somebody what colour something is that there is no reference to. It's impossible. Oh, well, you can say it's like pink and blue, but what if there's a colour that isn't pink or blue? What if there isn't a colour near to black or white or red? What if there's a colour that cannot be explained? I can't explain it. It's impossible because you can. It's like telling somebody over here, you know, I've got perfume on. It smells lovely. Can you smell it? No, I can't. No, but have I got it on? Surely you can't explain it. You can't tell somebody what a smell is like if you don't even know what that smell is. And if you can't relate to that smell, how does anybody even understand it? So I hears that and I'm like, okay, that's really interesting. I know what you mean. And then she starts to tell me about the shapes. Now, shapes obviously come when you take psychedelics is the big one. It's often referred to that you see shapes and unusual things that happen with these shapes. So she was explaining that she saw these shapes. And again, the same thing was mentioned. I can't explain what them shapes were. I couldn't draw them. Like, I know what you mean. I couldn't draw them either. It was just, well, were they round? No. Were they? You're like, no. Well, what were they? I can't really describe them. It's hard to even describe them. And when you try and attune to them, it's very hard to reconstruct it because it's almost like it's a dream that you know you've dreamt. You can't remember what the dream is. It's the same feeling, even though you still know it and it was vivid and it was powerful. So that was another thing which is confirmation to me that Moldavite is the only crystal to do that. So imagine shapes you've never seen, imagine colours you've never seen. Okay, so that's really interesting and I find that fascinating. But then the final part of this was when the lady got up, just when she opened her eyes, she said she felt different. Okay, so when you have a healing session, you normally feel different. That's for sure. You normally feel, let's say, inner peace. It's a beautiful one when that happens. You feel release. You feel detoxed in a spiritual way. But when I ask about how the client feels, I can't explain it. And I understand that again. It's very hard to explain. So the only way I can say is that there is an extraterrestrial experience when I gave a healing session with Moldavite on the third eye. And it's something that cannot be explained. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating to me because it's hard to write in the book. It's impossible to write in the book. So I can only give you reference to what the client said. And I can't really speculate above that. But what I did see is a change in their energy. And that is, for me, something that blows me away. So normally you've got about 3 to 5 inches of energy when you're okay. When you're feeling bad, it only looks like it's very, very small energy, maybe half an inch, something like that. When you are vibrating at a beautiful frequency, your energy can actually go through out. You don't even see where it starts and where it stops. And it just feels like somebody's, when after the Moldavite session, all I can tell you is like, it feels like you've got a coat of armor on. It feels like you've got a new energy aura that doesn't vibrate at the same frequency as you would normally vibrate. It's almost like something as attached to you, so you've got an extra armor, and it's unreal. It's surreal to look at when you're watching your client, and it comes with a sense of knowing. a sense of trust, a sense of everything is going to be okay, and I just know it. It's almost like your client is fixed, and this is how your client should feel afterwards. Your client doesn't feel like she's confused. She doesn't feel like she doesn't know what's just happened or where she's going. Or it's almost like, I'm okay now. I'm all right. Everything's fine. And it's subtle. It's very subtle. So it's not a thunderbolt and lightning strike, but it is a kind of knowing. So for me, Moldavite is extraordinary, extra special, extra terrestrial in so many ways. And that was a pattern of my clients, whether it be a man or a woman or a child. That experience would often present itself to me, not always, but often. And it's a beautiful moment to see. So this is why only one of many reasons why I love Moldavite. Fascinates me to this day. And if I ever see somebody wearing a Moldavite, first thing I ask him is, what experience do you have? And have you ever felt anything with Moldavite? Now, I've probably spoken to, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000 people who wear Moldavite, and the experiences that they've had are always very similar. There's always a pattern to it. So it's not just a case of just, hang on a minute. My curtains are blowing away. So it's not just a case of, I can't even remember what I said then. But anyway, it's my dog is coming in now. My little, are you all right, Lily? Are you coming in? Are you coming in? Are you coming in, David? Okay. Oh, come on, Nick. So, yeah, that said, I wanted to make a video again of Moldavite and the experiences that I've had with my clients as a healer over the years, and just loved it. So I guess if Lily's staying, she's staying. I've got today, let me count, let me show you. Oh, she's jumped down now. So here we have, this is my rolled gold collection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are from Mali Clum. They're lovely, beautiful grade, and I like them. Some people don't like the mountains, and a lot of people love the mountains. I love the mountain because it doesn't detract from the beauty of the Moldavite. So there's one beautiful piece, gorgeous. Here's a different one, which is, look at that, look how different that is. Gorgeous again. So show you like that. The reason why I do this is because when you go to my website, you'll recognize it and you'll know which one you like. So here's another beauty. Just turn that around. That's a nice big thick piece. Gorgeous. Feels wonderful. All of them feel absolutely wonderful. There's another piece. Gorgeous. Turn that around for you. Beautiful. So you can see it there. Gorgeous. Another one, this is a cap finish. Beautiful. 925 silver and then dipped 3 times in gold. 18 karat gold plated. So there's, look at that, isn't that gorgeous? They're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So, and I'm actually wearing one today, it feels great. So yeah, the story of Moldavite, the power of Moldavite, is a beautiful experience for many people in this world. Powerful, detoxifying, cleansing, purifying, but most of all, the extraterrestrial energy and experience is beyond anything that I've ever come across. So I hope you appreciate my Moldavite collection. That's why I'm an avid collector of Moldavite. I buy Moldavite as often as I can, as long, of course, as it's genuine. Be aware out there now that there is more fake Moldavite than ever before, and I thought that possibly couldn't happen, but it is. So be warned, be careful. If it's too cheap, it's normally a con, so be careful. Here is a splendid 6 pieces. I hope you appreciate them, and they'll be now put onto markbajerski.com for you. And I've also got some pieces starting at as little as £30, but they are very tiny, very, very small, but you can still get an equal amount of fantastic energy if you put it on your third eye or on your palms and just hold them and breathe. You'll find that you'll get the same experience. So you don't have to buy expensive pieces. You can buy cheaper pieces which are genuine on my website, that's for sure. Some people have been a bit disappointed because, oh, the picture looks bigger than they're only small. Yes, well, that's because of the price. So, and plus the fact that I've worked on every piece, so be aware of that. Every piece has been worked on, just like these. I've done at least 15 hours on these. I might do another 35-40 minutes today on them, and they have extra energy in as well, which that's my work, that's my crystals, that's the principle of my website. Everything is pure energy healing. I took the very experience from my healing table and brought them to the crystals, so then you can have the same experience as a healing session added to a beautiful crystal. That is what makes my crystals very different, and I hope you appreciate the love and the work and the effort that I've put into them. Thank you so much again. Take care of yourself from myself and a beautiful little Lily, Princess Lily. Have a great day and enjoy your Moldavite.